Chapter 4. Meeting the Policeman. Cigarette smoke rose in languid coils above the meticulously decorated dining table where Vinnie sat, his solitary figure a stark contrast to the vibrant, controlled chaos of the Golden Grotto. The light from a magnificent chandelier danced on the crimson walls, casting long shadows that seemed to move in rhythm with the upbeat jazz music blaring from the nearby stage. Around him, patrons laughed, ate, and chattered, their animated conversations blending into an unintelligible murmur, but Vinnie remained an island of calm amidst the storm. The air was thick with the mingling scents of exotic spices and rich perfumes, creating an atmosphere that was both intoxicating and overwhelming. The clink of chips and murmur of voices surrounded him, but his focus was elsewhere, lost in the mental chess game he played. His attention drifted to the main stage where Susie, bathed in a halo of soft light, began to sing. Her voice was a haunting melody, weaving through the air like smoke. For a moment, the noise of the casino dimmed, replaced by the sultry notes of her song. Susie had a way of captivating an audience, her presence magnetic yet understated. She wore a sleek, midnight blue dress that shimmered with each movement, catching the light in a way that drew eyes to her. The stage, ordinarily bustling with activity, seemed frozen in time, all attention riveted on her. Captain George Harper moved through the crowd, oblivious to curious stares. He paused at Vinnie's table, projecting an air of calculated indifference. Vinnie noted the crispness of the captain's crumpled suit, the authoritative poise that was his armor. The hand beneath the table tightened around the cool metal of a concealed weapon. "I'm not here to ruffle feathers," Harper began, sliding into the seat opposite Vinnie, his voice firm over the ambient hum of the casino. An eyebrow cocked up on Vinnie's face, his position steadfast. "Feathers? You're in the lion's den." Harper dismissed the tension with a wave. "I know you don't trust the badge, Vinnie, but I'm chasing ghosts without your insights. You want this murder boxed up as much as I do." Vinnie laughed, the sound cold. "And I should help because your moral compass magically aligns with mine tonight?" Harper stared back, unblinking. Common enemies, common ground. Vinnie's laughter faded as he scrutinized Harper. "You're treading on my world, Harper, a world where trust is currency. I don't spend that lightly. In our world, we only kill each other." "And yet, hear me out," Harper returned, leaning forward. "The streets speak to you more than they ever will to me. Let's trade notes, help each other solve this puzzle. What do you say?" The two men locked eyes, a silent battle unfolding. Vinnie's mind raced. Harper presented a card worth playing, information he could potentially turn to his favor. With a slow exhale, Vinnie nodded. The music in the background shifted to a slower tempo, almost mirroring the weight of Vinnie's contemplation. He drummed his fingers on the table, his eyes scanning Harper's face for any sign of deceit. This wasn't just about uncovering a murder. This was about navigating a labyrinth of trust and betrayal with a lawman who skirted the edge of the very world Vinnie ruled. "You're treading on a tightrope, Captain. Not many survived that fall," Vinnie muttered, his eyes narrowing in thought. Harper leaned back, his eyes steady. "And yet, we both know I'm not walking away from this." "All right, Harper, I'll bite, but make no mistake, I'll be keeping a close eye on you. One wrong move, and our little partnership crumbles." A smile tugged at Harper's lips, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Agreed. So tell me, what's your play here, Vinnie?" Vinnie leaned in, his voice low. "Benny and I were once thick as thieves, until money and power did what they always do. He messed up his casino, the Ostrich, as we all know. Now I have a gal named Susie who can sing like an angel." Captain Harper's eyes darted to the stage, where Susie's voice had cast its spell on the gathered crowd. Her notes hung like a fine mist in the air, tangible and ethereal all at once. There was something almost hypnotic about the way she owned the stage, from the slightest flicker of her fingers to the way her eyes seemed to draw out secrets from the shadows. Harper leaned back in his chair, realization dawning upon him. "I see why you hired her," he said more to himself than to Vinnie. "She's got more than just a voice. She's magnetic, keeps people coming back." Vinnie's gaze followed Harper's. "Susie's not just here for the singing," he said, pulling Harper's attention back to their table. "She's a piece on the board, Harper. And right now, she's the key to unlocking Don Friddi. Harper's expression sharpened. Susie, how she fit into the grand opus? He paused and rubbed the stubble, tracing his jaw. Words out that she can lead us to Don Friddi. We find him, we likely uncover who's pulling the strings. A flicker of recognition flashed in Harper's gaze. So follow the siren's song to the kingpin's door. Got a better idea? Or is that captain badge just for show? A raspy chuckle escaped Harper. Don't need a badge to see you got a plan dancing in those cold eyes. Still, why trust me with this? Vinnie's gaze drifted momentarily, as if trying to pierce the smoky veil of the past. His distrust for law enforcement ran deep, rooted in long days of dodging raids, paying off dirty cops, and watching friends get dragged into the abyss. Men with badges were serpents in his garden, each one waiting for their chance to strike. Yet, Harper seemed different. There was something about him that was too rough around the edges, too willing to bend the rules. He operated more like a mobster than a cop, and that made him useful. Why trust you? Vinnie repeated, almost to himself. Maybe it's because you don't wear that badge like a halo. You remind me of someone who's crossed lines, someone who's seen the filth and isn't too clean to roll in it. Harper leaned in, elbows on the table, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips. Guess it takes one to know one, Moretti. Maybe we've both got a foot in two worlds, eh? Vinnie smirked. Say I'm investing in possibilities, and Harper, you're today's stock. Besides, like you said, the enemy of my enemy. Could just be another enemy, Harper finished, his voice hard. Vinnie relaxed back into the plush chair, the ghost of a smile on his face. Exactly, but for now we play nice. They sat in silence a moment, each absorbing the game board, calculating the risks and rewards to come. So how do you want to play this? You got moves, I'll give you that. But you're now in my house of cards, Vinnie broke the silence. Harper leaned closer, his voice a confidential hum. You dig in the shadows, I'll work the spotlight. Between both, we'll corner the bogeyman. Let's start simple, Vinnie proposed. We'll focus on Susie. She's the link, and every chain has its weak points. Agreed. And while you tug on that thread, I'll keep tabs on Don Friddi's suspected haunts. If he's in the wind, I'll ruffle some feathers. I'm good at ruffling. Harper stood up, sliding a crumpled card across the table. Here's my number. Call it when you need, or when you got something. Until then, we're dance partners. Vinnie picked up the card, flipping it between his fingers. Funny, I never took you for the dancing type. Harper grinned, reaching for his hat on the table. There's a lot you don't know about me. Let's keep it that way, partner. They parted with a reluctant yet firm handshake, each man aware of the fine line they skated on together. As Harper dissolved into the throng, Vinnie pondered if their fragile alliance would survive the night's drama or crumble like so many before it. The casino whirred on, an endless melody of temptation and chance, while Vinnie sat enjoying Susie's singing. The soft clink of ice in a whiskey glass was the only companion to his thoughts, a symphony unsung that sang of treachery and unseen eyes watching from darkened corners. Outside, the desert sky bloomed into night, shrouding the city and its players. Sin City yawned open its gates, inviting those brave or foolish enough to step into its embrace. A new chapter unfolded under this blanket of darkness, some destined for glory, others for a fall from grace. 5. Harper's struggle for trust. Vinnie leaned back in his leather chair, cigar smoke curling languidly through the air. Piles of seemingly irrelevant paperwork cluttered his desk, doing nothing to quell the storm raging in his mind. Don Friddi's shadow loomed larger with each passing day, threatening the delicate balance he'd fought so hard to create. The Golden Grotto buzzed with the usual hum of gamblers and hopefuls, but his sanctuary felt more like a fortress under siege. A knock on the door cut through the silence. Harper ducked in, a crooked half-smile playing on his lips. He held a manila envelope under his arm, insurance against a man who lived to distrust. Got something for you, Vinnie? Police chatter. It's hot off the press, and I'm not talking about the evening news. Vinnie exhaled a plume of smoke, eyeing Harper's offering. And why, Harper, would I be interested in what your boys in blue are yapping about? His voice was a mix of disinterest and calculated curiosity. Harper took a step forward, his expression resolute. Inside knowledge. I've got leads on police investigations into Don Friddi's activities and location. Could give us an edge. Vinnie was a storm cloud, dark, ominous, ready to burst, and skepticism etched deeper lines into his face. Why should I believe you? You cops have a way of bending the truth to fit your agendas. I'm not your usual cop. I thought we were past this song and dance, Harper replied, leaning forward. You know that. I want Don Friddi out of the picture as much as you do. Different reasons, same goal. It's about Don Friddi. This little envelope, Harper tapped the manila packet, might just have the crumbs to lead us to the big slice of pie. Frankie burst in before Vinnie could respond, panic etched on his face. Boss, Friddi's goons just entered through the east entrance. Vinnie's eyes narrowed. Friddi's desperate. That means he's after something specific. Harper snapped into action. Let's check it out. As they bolted through the office door and down the corridor, Vinnie barked out orders to his men. Frankie, cover the entrances. You know what to do. They reached the main casino floor, a labyrinth of flashing lights and clinking coins. Vinnie spotted two of Friddi's men trying to move past Frankie's men near the east entrance. The guests, oblivious to the danger, continued gambling, the chaos concealed from their view. Vinnie pulled Harper aside, his voice a tense whisper. Friddi's not just sending them for a joyride. He's after the ledger, the one with every transaction, payoff, and detail of my operations in Vegas. Harper's eyes widened. Then we've got to stop them now. Vinnie nodded, his face set in determination. They circled the casino floor, hiding behind pillars and slot machines as gunfire could erupt any second. The sooner they contained this, the better. Harper and Vinnie joined the fray just as another wave of Friddi's men charged in through the main entrance. The air grew dense, the weight of danger palpable. Vinnie and Harper rushed from behind the pillars, emerging into the chaos spilling into the casino's ornate foyer. Suddenly, gunfire shattered the elegant ambiance, transforming it into a war zone, ed of darkness, some destined for glory, others for a fall from grace. Frankie, adrenaline coursing through his veins, rallied the guards with sharp, authoritative commands. His loyalty to Vinnie manifested in a protective ferocity as he set out to repel the invaders. Rico, Thomas, flank left! Push them back to their cars! Mickey, smoke them out! Frankie's voice was a blade cutting through the disarray. The men, well-drilled and fiercely loyal, moved as one unit. They unleashed a barrage of return fire, loud and disorienting. A strategic assault choreographed by Frankie's practiced hand. The air was thick with gun smoke, the sound of bullets chipping away at stone pillars and shattering the once tranquil atmosphere of the Golden Grotto. Keep on 'em, don't let up. Frankie's face was smeared with grime, but his eyes blazed with commanding intent. He fired over the craps tables, splintering the wood with precision shots aimed to scare and to dominate. The attackers faltered, their numbers dwindling under the relentless onslaught. Soon, they were retreating, dragging along the wounded who could still move. The growl of their engines signaled a hasty retreat, leaving behind the echo of Frankie's orders and the evidence of their failed endeavor. Vinnie cast a brief glance at the retreating assailants, but his focus snapped back to Harper's pained grimace. Let's get this man some help, he said with a nod toward the downed detective. You think one of Friddi's gonna stitch me up? Harper's voice was thick as he tried to push himself upright, comforting himself with sarcasm. Vinnie wrapped a steady arm under Harper's shoulder, helping him stay upright. No, Frankie, here's got a better idea, don't you, Frankie? Frankie had already pulled out his phone, dialing with urgency. With swift, urgent movements, they lifted Harper's limp form and maneuvered into Vinnie's office. Thunder rumbled in the distance as they made their way inside. Vinnie's office became an impromptu infirmary, and Harper, gritting through the pain, couldn't help but let out another chuckle. What's so funny? Vinnie snarled, his concern barely concealed. You, playing nursemaid to a cop, Harper jested, his usual stoic guard lowered by the situation. Let's just not make this a habit, Vinnie shot back, shaking his head as he helped seat Harper on the plush leather couch. Vinnie helped Harper upright as the sound of approaching sirens blended with the distant wail of the desert wind. He barked orders at the swarm of associates now flooding the scene. Give this man some help. Vinnie paced outside, the relentless step, step, step of his shoes against the linoleum, betraying a tension that had settled deep in his bones. His pulse quickened as he was led down the sterile, brightly lit corridor to the hospital waiting room. He compelled his nerves into submission, lowering himself into the chair with a semblance of nonchalance. Vinnie's fingers drummed an anxious rhythm on the cool, sterile gloss of his hospital waiting room chair. The sharp antiseptic air clung to the inside of his nostrils, almost suffocating in its sterility. Evening light dimmed, patient in its descent, while he battled the shadows of regret and debt crawling over him. A doctor approached, casting a long shadow in the hospital light. Vinnie rose to meet him, the tension in his shoulders betraying his calm exterior. "Mr. Moretti, your friend, Captain Harper, will be just fine. The bullet only grazed him. It looked worse than it was. He'll make it, but he needs rest and a hospital. No ifs or buts." Relief surged through Vinnie. It mingled with a tide of gratitude and something else, something akin to debt. Harper had saved his life, and in their world, that came with a price tag. "Rest, sure, but he won't stay here long," Vinnie stated flatly, already considering Harper's discharge. The doctor sighed, shifting his weight as if readying for an unwinnable argument. "He needs observation," the doctor retorted, crossing his arms. "Moving him could jeopardize—" "I appreciate your professionalism," Vinnie cut him off, locking eyes, his tone immovable. "But Harper's safer with me. Are we clear?" The doctor's gaze wavered, then dropped. "Fine, but if he pushes himself, the injury could worsen. Keep him on bed rest, minimal exertion." He turned and walked off, leaving Vinnie in the tranquility of the corridor. "Can I see him?" "Absolutely. Room 212, down the hallway." While stepping away, the doctor pointed toward a corridor lined with doors, similar to the fortunes he wagered nightly, some open to wins, others to losses. Vinnie found Harper propped against white pillows, the sterile light casting a pallor onto his wearied face. "Cap, I owe you one." Harper's lips twitched into a weak smile. "No debts between pals, Vinnie?" "I ain't calling it even yet, nor are we pals," Vinnie smirked, pulling a chair to Harper's bedside. They sat in compatible silence, the complicated tangle of their association hanging silently between them like the stale air of the small room. Minutes ticked by, each one a bead of sweat rolling down Vinnie's back. Finally, a nurse came and wheeled Harper out, his face pale but keen eyes scanning the room, landing on Vinnie with a groggy half-smile. "Look at you, still playing nursemaid," Harper joked, voice tinged with pain. "Guess you're my patient now," Vinnie replied, taking the handles of the wheelchair. "Let's get you out of here." He pushed Harper through the labyrinthine hospital hallways, their path punctuated by the muted sounds of medical equipment and hushed conversations. Eventually they emerged into the cool evening air, the setting sun casting long shadows across the parking lot. Now it was Harper's turn to be the passenger in Vinnie's Cadillac Eldorado as they cut a swath through the neon glow of dusk, away from the hospital. Harper studied the car's grand interior, a space as foreign to him as the jungles of darkest Africa. "Why the sudden soft spot for a cop, Vinnie?" Vinnie kept his eyes on the road, the lights of the city playing across his focused gaze. "You showed your mettle, Harper. That goes a long way in my book." Later that evening, Harper looked out at the desert stars from Vinnie's office, a glass of whiskey warming his hand. Vinnie joined him, a silent figure against the velvet night. They raised their glasses in a silent toast, an unspoken acknowledgement passed between them. "You didn't have to jump in front of that bullet, Harper." Harper chuckled, the risk of death already becoming an anecdote. "And let Friddi think he could waltz into your place and take you out? That'd be bad for business." Vinnie scrutinized Harper's profile, his gaze searching. "What do you want, Harper? Really? Because no man takes a bullet for another without expecting something in return." The ice clinked against the side of Harper's glass as he considered the question. "I want the same thing you want, Vinnie, to see this city rid of scum like Friddi." Vinnie nodded, the lines of his face softening. The city's neon buzz hummed in the distance, a symphony of temptation and sin. "We're getting close. I can feel it. That envelope you got could be the break we need." Harper lifted an eyebrow. "You're warming up to the idea of working with a cop?" Let's just say I'm warming up to the results." Vinnie leaned back in his chair, the quiet hum of the office settling around them. Harper sipped his whiskey, already feeling the day's chaos beginning to ebb away. Vinnie's gaze flicked toward the door, and he cleared his throat. "Let's get you home, Harper." The Cadillac Eldorado roared to life with a growl that echoed in the quiet night. They slipped back into the shifting mosaic of Las Vegas, neon lights casting elongated shadows, the city pulsing like a living, breathing entity. Vinnie steered the car with one hand, offering Harper a sidelong glance. "Where to?" "West Side," Harper replied, resting his head back. "Just past the train station." They drove in silence, the hypnotic rhythms of Vegas at night washing over them. As they neared Harper's apartment, the disparity between his world and Vinnie's became stark. The Eldorado pulled up to a faded brick building standing uneasily in a part of town where white people rarely ventured. They made their way inside, Harper leaning slightly on Vinnie for support. He fished out a key and unlocked his door to a scene brighter in memory than reality. "Please, Cap, don't tell me you live like this on purpose," Vinnie said, eyebrows raised as he took in the sparse furnishings. "Just never saw the point in luxury," Harper replied as he eased onto a worn couch. Vinnie shrugged, a smile threatening the corners of his mouth. Harper reluctantly offered Vinnie a drink, and Vinnie, with a casual familiarity, grabbed the dusty bottle of low-grade whiskey. The amber elixir sloshed into 2 chipped glasses as he poured generous measures for both himself and Harper, the sharp scent of alcohol mingling with the stale air. "Here's to strange bedfellows," Vinnie said, raising his glass, the whiskey glinting like liquid gold. Harper mirrored the action, his voice a gritty baritone, and the jazz that brought them together. Night held its breath, wrapping itself around Las Vegas as street lamps cast long, undulating shadows. In the darkness, Vinnie contemplated the road ahead, the roles they both played. He knew well the art of wearing masks, of hiding intentions behind calculated smiles and handshakes. The extension of trust was a rarity for him, especially to law enforcement. Yet with Harper, already a camaraderie was forming that could either be his salvation or his undoing. The following night at the Zenith, Harper and Vinnie shared a table, legs crossed, drinks in hand, and immersed in the soft caresses of Susannah's voice, which resonated as she juggled her performances at the Golden Grotto with her long-standing singing gig, wrapping around the room. She held on to her fixed time slot here, driven by financial necessity. Vinnie's eyes never left the stage, but his words carried weight. "All life's a risk, Harper. The key's knowing which gambles are worth taking." As Susie's set ended, Vinnie watched Harper's eyes follow her departure before turning to him with a softness that spoke of weary battles. "You ever think about what it costs, Vinnie, being at the top?" "Glimpse of enlightenment, Harper." Vinnie leaned back, eyeing the detective with newfound interest. Harper nodded slowly, his confession coming in reluctant waves. "Let's just say disillusionment makes you consider strange friendships." Vinnie's chuckle was low and thoughtful. "Strange, sure, but sometimes necessary." Outside, the neon-washed night drew them into a handshake, both men stronger for the bond slowly solidifying. Harper's recovery was swift. They parted with nods, mutual respect hanging in the humid air as the city lights blazed on in a sleepless testament to the lives they intertwined, to the future they'd face, uncertain and bold. Chapter 6, First Challenge. The next evening, Vinnie's Cadillac Eldorado idled at the curb, its sleek lines at odds with the tenement's crumbling facade. Harper sized up the decrepit building, his jaw set. A chill breeze sent a lone paper tumbling along the sidewalk before them. "Jack said he had something for us." Vinnie killed the engine, his voice taut. "Let's hope he's still in a talkative mood." They approached the door of apartment 14. Harper rapped his knuckles sharply against the unwelcoming timber. No answer came, only the muffled sound of a dog barking somewhere higher up. Harper raked a hand over his stubble, the sense of urgency a coiled spring in his gut. The suspicion crept into Harper's voice as they exchanged a dark look. "You prepared for a surprise?" Vinnie nodded and reached inside his jacket, the glint of metal brief but unmistakable. Harper matched the gesture with his own, gun in hand. Without a word more, Harper's boot met the door. It splintered open, revealing chaos. They stepped into the wreckage of Jack's life, laid bare in the disarray. Vinnie's eyes traced the scene, drawers emptied, the mattress gutted, desperation scrawled in every overturned chair. "Damn it, Jack!" Harper's exclamation was half sigh, half groan as he knelt beside the still form. Jack's sightless gaze met the ceiling, the fatal neat hole in his head framed by a halo of dried blood. He lay motionless, his lifeless body sprawled out on the cold, unforgiving ground. The air around him was thick with the metallic scent of blood mixing with the eerie silence that seemed to press in from all sides. Vinnie lingered by a ransacked bookshelf, swallowed emotions distorting his face momentarily. He knew he was navigating through murky, shadowy circles. Harper's words struggled against the lump in his throat. Just like us. Vinnie let out a breath heavy with unvoiced curses, his eyes scanning the room for any clue that might remain amongst the chaos. Whoever did this was looking for something, or wanted to scare Jack into not talking. Harper grunted in agreement, collecting himself enough to stand. He moved with practiced precision, examining Jack's body without disturbing the scene any more than necessary. One shot, close range. His fingers hovered above the wound, careful not to touch. Execution style. Vinnie's eyes narrowed. Don Friddi's sending us a message. He's meticulously erasing every trace of his presence, leaving behind no hints or whispers of his hidden location. Harper's expression was grim as he stood, adjusting his jacket to hide his holster once more. Either way, the message is loud and clear. They meticulously combed through every inch of the room, each movement filled with a blend of anticipation and skepticism. As they rifled through drawers and peered beneath furniture, the faint hope of finding a clue about Don Friddi's whereabouts lingered in the air, despite their nagging doubts about Jack's possession of anything concrete. Vinnie skirted along the perimeter, while Harper combed through the debris upturned in the struggle. As they worked, their movements and murmurs wove a tight rhythm. "Anything," Vinnie's voice cut through the dense silence. "Still looking." Harper's reply was curt as he sifted through papers that littered the floor, his search methodical and focused. Harper glanced over, interest piqued, but his attention was quickly diverted to a sound, a soft, metallic clink from the overturned waste bin. He crouched, fishing out a bullet casing still shiny amid the grunge. 38. Harper rolled the casing in his palm, staring down at it. Matches the wound, all right. The room, for all its disarray, began to yield its secrets to their probing eyes. Vinnie pulled out a dog-eared journal buried beneath a heap of clothing, its pages filled with Jack's cramped hand. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Harper moved to stand beside Vinnie, tilting his head to better view the journal entries. "That whoever came here left empty-handed." Vinnie's finger traced a line of ink, his brow furrowing. "They were looking for this." They shared a glance, understanding flashing between them. "Jack's journal mentions a meeting." Vinnie finally broke the silence, tapping a smoke-smeared page. "With someone high up in Don Friddi's food chain who knows his whereabouts." Harper whistled, low and contemplative. "This gives us a lead, but we're still shooting in the dark unless we piece the whole picture together." Harper's eyes met Vinnie's, a glint of determination in them. "Where do you want to start?" "Let's hit the streets. Talk to my informants. See if anyone's feeling chatty after tonight's little message." Vinnie's voice hardened like the resolve setting in his jaw. Harper nodded, the shared zeal a flame ignited. "What about the grotto? You've got resources there that could give us an edge." "You're right." Vinnie straightened, the early stages of a plan clicking into place. "I'll get Frankie on it. He's got ears everywhere." As Vinnie pocketed the journal, Harper took another sweeping look around. They had what they could get from Jack's place, grim though the method of acquisition. The sounds of the city buzzed anew as they exited the apartment, the door hanging awkwardly on its broken hinges, bearing silent testament to the night's grim work. Back inside his Cadillac, beneath the indifferent glow of the street lamp, Vinnie's mind ran wild with the night's revelations. Whatever game they were playing, the stakes had just soared, and the next move needed to be theirs. Vinnie started the engine, the purr of the Eldorado breaking the tense silence. Harper mirrored his resolve, steel in his voice. Let's roll the dice then, Vinnie. Time's not our friend in this case. Don Friddi's gonna try again. Their path was set, the city their chessboard, and as the night deepened, so did the shadows within which they would seek justice or retribution, whichever came first. Back in the safe orbit of the Golden Grotto, the comforting clink of chips and murmur of hopeful players seemed a universe away from the day's grime. Vinnie's office drank in the sound, an insulated bunker of luxury. Vinnie perched on the edge of his desk, fingers drumming against polished wood, mind fraying at the edges from the day's horrors. Harper stood by the window with his back to the room, the receiver of the office phone resting heavily in his hand. "I need a favor." Harper's voice wrapped itself in forced nonchalance, but the intensity couldn't be masked. "Yeah, it's me. Captain Harper? We got a situation over at the Raven's Roost, apartment 14. The silence stretched thin as he waited for acknowledgement from the other end. "Yes, it's him. Jack Rawlins. Make sure it's a quiet response. We don't need flashing lights." Vinnie's steady drumming halted, the weight of Jack's demise chipping away at his composure. Harper turned back to face him, a pause in the conversation. "Secure the scene. I'll send someone to meet you," he continued, his voice hardening. "Yeah, understood. I need the autopsy reports on my desk by tomorrow." Harper recounted the scene, the words tasting of copper on his tongue. Vinnie circled his desk, the decanter catching light as he poured 2 fingers of amber liquid into glasses. "Every minute we waste, Friddi's forces gather around us." Vinnie handed over the whiskey, his knuckles white. "We have to strike." Harper accepted the drink, the scent of malt a brief reprieve from the acrid aftertaste of violence. "What are you thinking?" Vinnie's silhouette stood tall against the backdrop of the city's glow. Jack's death wasn't just a hit, it was a signpost. Just like Benny's death. Don Friddi's not just protecting his secrets, he's unraveling ours. They sipped in silent accord, the burn of the alcohol less than the sting of justice denied. Harper set his glass down, a resolve kindling behind those blue eyes. "Then let's not disappoint them." Vinnie's stare turned inward. "Like we said, Frankie's gonna pull some strings, shake the trees. We'll get something usable. And when we do, we hit him where it hurts." Vinnie's profile was hard. "Break his empire piece by piece if we have to." Harper nodded, setting his jaw. "I'm in. This has gone on long enough." Vinnie's lips pressed into a faint smile. "Knew I could count on you." Las Vegas, ablaze with its neon heartbeat, pulsed through the night. In the city of sins, for Vinnie and Harper, the game of cat and mouse tightened its grip, each player poised for the next move in their deadly dance. And when we do, we hit him where it hurts. Vinnie's profile was hard. "Break his empire piece by piece if we have to." Harper nodded, setting his jaw. "I'm in. This has gone on long enough." Vinnie's lips pressed into a faint smile. "Knew I could count on you." Las Vegas, ablaze with its neon heartbeat, pulsed through the night. In the city of sins, for Vinnie and Harper, the game of cat and mouse tightened its grip, each player poised for the next move in their deadly dance. Chapter 7. Exploration. Once more, the Cadillac Eldorado glided through the hot Vegas night, slipping like a shadow under the curtain that separated the city's glamour from its squalor. Vinnie eased the car to a stop a block away from their destination. The trio, freshly united, took a deep breath, their hearts pounding as they steeled themselves for the impending encounter. Upon discovering a crucial lead hastily scribbled in Jack's worn, leather-bound journal from his apartment, they continued their investigation. The barely legible scrawl hinted at a meeting location that promised answers to the mysteries they had been chasing. With hearts pounding and eyes alight with determination, they packed their belongings and set out, the cryptic coordinates from the journal guiding their every step into the unknown. Susie turned to Vinnie, fine lines of apprehension etched on her face visible even in the scant light of the dashboard. "You sure about this?" Her voice was a smooth melody, albeit laced with an edge of fear. Vinnie's eyes met the rearview mirror, locking on hers, his pale blue irises unrelenting. "No turning back now. We find Friddi. We find reckoning." Harper loaded his revolver with a quiet efficiency that belied the tension knotting his shoulders. "Keep it tight and watch each other's backs." They made their way to the weathered door of the mob's den, a still-hidden speakeasy, and, at Vinnie's nod, it swung open to unleash a wall of stale air, sinister glances, and the murmur of dangerous men. The mobsters parted like oil in water as Vinnie led the way, Harper's steady gaze sweeping over the crowd. One of the adversaries, Giovanni Frazzetta, pressed his back against the wall, his eyes glinting like steel traps as he nodded at their approach. Moretti, never figured you for a man who mixed business with pleasure. Vinnie stretched a smile that never quite reached his eyes. Thought we'd come see how the other half lives. Harper folded his arms. Cut the chatter, Giovanni. We want Friddi, not small talk. The thrum of the room fell to a hush, expectant. Giovanni, playing with the edge of a silver lighter, flicked a flame and quenched it. And what makes you think he's here? Vinnie leaned in, close enough to share secrets. Don't dance around, Giovanni. We know he isn't. Point us to Friddi. Fishing in the wrong pond, Vinnie. Try the East Coast. Giovanni's guarded look didn't waver. Johnny Ice shifted nearby, jaw clenched, his hand twitching under his jacket. Harper's eyes narrowed, his own hand a ghost over his weapon. You know, I've got a feeling that's stale info, Giovanni. Vinnie's voice was deceptively calm. We're not leaving empty-handed. The tension wound tighter, a spring ready to snap. Then, chaos erupted outside. The click of billiard balls interrupted, raucous shouts spilling inside. Stay sharp, Harper whispered. As Giovanni's crew dispersed toward the disturbance, Susie's voice was a lifeline in the surge of bodies. Johnny's taking a back exit. Vinnie's lips parted in a terse signal. Silently, they followed Johnny's trail, fading into the shadows, a specter of the past on their heels. The corridor lay ahead, a promise of secrets cloaked in darkness. What's the plan if we catch him? Susie's whisper barely disturbed the air. We improvise. His fleeing betrays he knows something we can use. Vinnie's reply was cool as the steel in their grips. Johnny's voice trickled back to them, sifting through the crevices of the corridor. No, he ain't no copper, but Moretti's with him. In a swift motion, Harper took the lead, his steps silent, the hunter in pursuit. Johnny spun, face a mask of startled panic. Then he bolted, leaving the phone horn hanging by its cord. Adrenaline surged, their pursuit a dance of shadows, each movement raw instinct. Harper was relentless, a force of nature born from the streets. With a swift tackle, he brought Johnny down with the weight of justice and retribution heavy on their shoulders. Got the rat, Harper grunted, twisting Johnny's arm as Susie snatched a crumpled piece of paper from his grip, the remnants of a vital clue. Back in the lion's den, the crowd parted once more, wary as a wake of vultures. Vinnie faced Giovanni, ice to his fire. Trouble with Johnny, or you want to keep stonewalling? Giovanni spat, his front slipping. Just a snitch, nothing to worry about. At the surge of movement, Vinnie was a statue, Harper a dark cloud of menace. Friddi's location, Giovanni, now. Giovanni slouched against the wall, false nonchalance masking his unease. Vinnie stepped closer, his demeanor radiating ruthless pressure. You're not leaving this room with any more secrets, Giovanni. Vinnie's voice was a blade, sharp and cold. Where's Friddi? Giovanni's defiance lingered a moment too long before cracking under Vinnie's intense stare. Like I said, enough. Vinnie's tone cut through the air like a whip. Harper's grip on Johnny tightened, forcing a grunt from the man's throat. Feels like you're testing my patience, Giovanni, Vinnie continued, his voice low and controlled. And that's a dangerous game. Giovanni's eyes flicked to Johnny, who squirmed in Harper's iron grip. Susie sidled closer, eyes narrowing in on Giovanni's discomfort like a hawk. Start talking, Vinnie ordered, or Johnny here might find himself in a world of hurt. Johnny's face contorted in a mixture of pain and fear as Harper twisted his arm further. We don't know, Johnny started, but Vinnie stepped in, his eyes locking onto Johnny's like a predator's. I'm tired of lies, Vinnie said, his voice dangerously calm. We know you know, Johnny. Spit it out. Johnny's eyes darted to Giovanni, seeking support that wasn't coming. Sweat beaded on his forehead as Vinnie leaned closer, his presence an oppressive weight. Don't make me repeat myself, Vinnie warned, his patience fraying. I don't know, Johnny's voice strained. But Sinclair? Harrison Sinclair he knows things. He's close to Friddi. Giovanni's head snapped in Johnny's direction, eyes widening in a moment of unguarded panic before he masked it with a scowl. Vinnie's eyes glittered with satisfaction. Sinclair, huh? Vinnie allowed a cold, thin smile to spread across his face. Now we're getting somewhere. Giovanni glared daggers at Johnny, a silent vow of retribution in his eyes. Meanwhile, Vinnie turned to Harper, a nod passing between them. A slow, satisfied smile crept over Vinnie's lips as he turned on his heels, his companions in tow. The name had weight. This was the breakthrough they needed. Let's get out of here, Vinnie whispered, giving Johnny one last glare that promised more pain if he didn't squawk under further pressure. Harper released Johnny slowly, eyes scanning the room. We've rung the alarm. Let's not overstay our welcome. Susie placed a hand on Vinnie's arm, eyes betraying her unease. Moving out isn't going to be easy. We stirred the pot. Vinnie straightened his jacket, a calm determination masking the storm beneath. We walk out just like we walked in. Keep your heads up and your hands steady. The trio began their carefully orchestrated retreat, every step measured, their senses heightened. The dense sea of gangsters opened reluctantly, their stares piercing, gauging the interlopers. Harper positioned himself to Vinnie's left, Susie on his right. Their formation was an unspoken pact, an immovable front against the encroaching menace. Before they made it halfway, one of Giovanni's men, a burly guy with a square chin and a cruel smile, blocked their path. Going somewhere? Boss might have some business with you now. Vinnie locked eyes with the enforcer, his gaze steady and unflinching. I'm done when I say I'm done. His voice brooked no argument. Step aside, Square Chin sneered, shifting his weight like a bull ready to charge. You think we're going to let you waltz out without a fight? You really want to dance? Harper's voice was low, but it carried the weight of years spent enforcing the law in Vegas's darkest corners. His hand hovered near the holster, a coiled threat. Susie's voice cut through the tension, a sharp edge to her words. We heard what we needed to. If you try to block us, you'll regret it. A murmur rippled through the room, the mobsters torn between loyalty and self-preservation. Vinnie's reputation had weight. Shadows stretched ominously around them, and the unsettling silence was broken only by the muted crunch of their footsteps on the sandy floor. Eyes wide and vigilant, they scanned their surroundings, alert to any movement in the dense foliage or flicker of an unexpected light. Hearts pounded in rhythm with their hurried breaths, the air thick with an unspoken urgency, as they pressed onward, deeper into the unknown. Outside, under the indifferent gaze of Las Vegas's neon gods, the Cadillac swallowed them once more. The city spread out before them, paved with menace and opportunity. Back in the leather embrace of the El Dorado, the silence hummed with the weight of their discovery. Vinnie flipped on the headlights, banishing the cloaking darkness from their path. The engine's familiar growl underscored their contemplation. Susie broke the silence, her voice like the rustle of satin. Harrison Sinclair, isn't he the councilman cozying up to the higher-ups? She rifled through her purse, fingers finding a slip of paper and offering it to Vinnie. It bore the letterhead of the city office. Harper rubbed the stubbled edge of his jaw. Yep, plays the part of Mr. Clean, but rubs elbows with the dirtiest. Seems to have his hands in more pies than a bakery. Vinnie's gaze fixed on the expanse of the city through the windshield. Sinclair and Friddi, ambitious in running Vegas, politician and mob boss carving up the town like it's Thanksgiving. The car glided through the streets, its occupants locked in thought. Harper pieced together the web of deceit. Sinclair's got connections, all right. If he and Friddi have a pact, it's a power grip we've yet to see fully. Vinnie narrowed his eyes, a predator scenting blood. Sinclair's the key. He's got the political clout, but without muscle, he's just another suit. Friddi offers protection, influence, keeps the machine oiled. Susie leaned forward, elbows on the back of the front seat. And in return, Sinclair keeps the law out of Friddi's hair, a symbiotic cesspool. Their mutual disgust was palpable in the shrouded confines of the car. Harper's fingers tapped a code only he understood against the armrest. A man like Sinclair, he'll want more than a handshake, more than a verbal deal. Vinnie met Harper's eyes in the rearview mirror, the connection instant and electric. Exactly. There'll be evidence, an agreement of sorts. We find that, we pull the rug out from under them. The city passed by, oblivious to the dark tide rising within its underbelly. Harper rechecked his weapon, a metallic symphony of preparation. We nail Sinclair first, shake him down for leads on Don Friddi. Vinnie's hands maneuvered the El Dorado like an extension of his will. But we move carefully. Sinclair's not often rattled, and he's got the city's ear. We bring him down, we scare Don Friddi out of the shadows. Susie plucked a cigarette from her case, twirling it between slender fingers. What's the move then? How do we take down a kingpin and a crooked councilman? There was a beat, a breath caught between the stark choices that lay bare before them. Vinnie's voice, when it came, was a blade honed sharp with purpose. One piece at a time, Susie. This chessboard's big enough for a long game. A shared nod sealed their fate, an unspoken oath taken in the glow of the dashboard. The war for Las Vegas's soul loomed large before them, a duel of wits and wills set against the neon battleground of sin and smoke. We'll get Sinclair. We unravel the whole damn operation and we find Don Friddi, Vinnie declared as the car devoured the miles back to the glow of their tarnished haven, a truth unfolding like the night around them.